What's up, cyberspace? It's Zero. My Over the Statute of Limitations crime vlog continues today. Our topic is brought to you by my mom. She told me that she watched my video about my cousin and I in the Jolly Roger cookbook, and she suggested another crime-filled story from my past to tell everyone about. This story is about phone phreaking in the old days. We're going to talk about red boxing, we're going to talk about science fair, and we're going to talk about getting narced out by your high school teachers, and why you got to keep your mouth shut. Something I guess I've never learned, because here we are telling this story to the whole of the internet. Anyhow, so back in the day, phones used rotary technology. If you never used a rotary phone, there was a bunch of holes with numbers, and you stuck your finger in the hole and you turned it to the top and you'd let go, and it would click that many times for that number to represent it. And the phone would interpret those clicks, rotary signaling. Eventually we came out with DTMF, also called touch tone. What does it stand for? Like dual tone multi-frequency signaling or something like that, DTMF. It wasn't limited to just these face button sounds. There were operator sounds, there were trunk line sounds, things that you as a user, a normal user, didn't interact with. If you look up some of the silver boxing manuals, some phone phreaks found out that there are other tones that are used by the military, and they got into some trouble with those sounds. So read some of those old phone phreaking manuals. Line Noise is a great group that I may or may not have been in back in the day, where we wrote some cool e-zine stuff about hacking the phones. So anyhow, the way a payphone worked was there was like a lever inside of it. And when you drop the coin down, it would move that lever some amount. And based upon the weight of the coin, it would represent, how much money you put into it. And it would beep a number of times. That beep was also a DTMF kind of signal that was interpreted by the electronics and the machinery of the phone itself. So the idea of this red box is that you open it up and there's a stock crystal that's down here that's no longer in mine. And I've replaced it with a new one. Back in the day, I ordered this from a mail order catalog called Mouser Electronics. My friends online in Line Noise were the ones who showed me the right crystal that I needed to do this mod. What happens is the star key actually made that same noise that a payphone would make when you put a nickel into it. So you could sit there with this box and put it on the mouthpiece of a phone and just slam this button, beep, 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 and it would, have registered enough change for you to make a long distance call. Time went on, and these became the standard. Since really old and gross, but see these extra buttons across the top? These were the memory functions. Radio Shack sold these more so towards the end because they had more of a purpose than these ones. These ones were designed for people who had rotary phones and needed to make touch tone calls, which there are fewer and fewer people that had the need for these. These second gen ones that had the memory features on them, those were designed for like address books. Before that, people used physical analog paper and wrote down names and phone numbers of people that they had to look up. These gave you the ability to just sort of like say, oh, okay, I'm gonna do like P26 and press that button, dial the whole number for you real quick. Those were cool because, like I said, the crystal mod only changed the frequency of these. Let's see, this crystal's just slightly different on this one. It's down at the bottom. It changed the frequency to be a nickel. So I obviously saved the thing to be a quarter, 2 quarters, $1, $10 or whatever, just if you're gonna make some international calls. So yeah, it all started with, I had a girlfriend that lived kind of far away. She had a different area code. My dad was gonna take me to go visit her one day. He said, shouldn't you call Jen before you leave? And I said, no, Dad, don't worry about it. We'll do it on the way. And we didn't have a cell phone there. I don't think he knew what I meant, but he was just like, all right, whatever. So we went down the road and we went by my favorite Wendy's payphone, and I said, Dad, pull into Wendy's lot, and jumped out of the car, and he saw me red box for the first time. He got back in the car and he was like, what was that thing? And I spilled the beans. I told my dad all about my phone phreaking exploits and red boxing and how he learned it on the internet, and I didn't tell him anything else except for how red boxing worked. So time went on, and I went to Catholic school. That doesn't say a lot of shit. We had this thing called science fair, and your freshman and sophomore year, you had to do it. In junior and senior year, it was optional. My freshman year, I did it on garlic killing bacteria. I killed Streptococcus lacus and some other like mail order bacteria that I had in petri dishes with just teeny tiny essence of garlic drops in there. It was neat. I was too young. We went to like the regionals and I couldn't make it to states because I was too young. So the next year I did it on orthodontia. One of my parents' best friends was an orthodontist, and I got like teeth mesh impression molds, and I did like a research paper essentially on that. And they were like, hey, you can't go to states because you didn't really have an experiment. So second time I'd failed. I wasn't going to do science fair again, too cool for school when I was a junior. My 8th grade and 7th grade science and regular teacher was now our high school science teacher. She followed her son from middle school to high school. Anyhow, he was in my class. And Miss Straka was like, yo, your grades are not that great this semester. You really should do science fair to bolster your grade. I know that you can do it if you put the effort in. It's not that you're not smart, you're not working. I was like, I don't know, Miss S, I'm lazy. So I wasn't doing great. My dad was just like, you should do science fair. You should do it on red boxing too. That's a topic that's all about, and no one else does. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. I could totally do that. That moment of like engagement and learning is what makes you get motivated to do stuff. So I did. I wrote a great project. I had experiments. I made a video. I got the technical manual for this guy. I went into Radio Shack and I asked for a repair manual for this. And I put the soldering like diagram. It was like ASCII art from the thing that I downloaded off the internet. And I drew like a real nice one. And that's on the Line Noise Design website if you look. Anyways, so the day of this, you have to like periodically give your teacher your science fair to prove that you're working on it and stuff like that. Well, the day of the science fair rolls up, and we're getting judged across the street at St. John Arena. The freshmen and the sophomore go in first, then the juniors and the seniors go in. It's kind of mixed, like some are getting judged second or third, first or whatever, and I'm in there forever. All my friends get judged. All my older friends get judged. Everyone in the gym is gone. I see Miss Straka, and I'm like, yo, did you forget me? And she says, no. Your presentation was too technical, so I had to bring in special judges for you. All right, so the warning sign has already been shot. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? So my judges finally show up when no one else is there. It's a well-dressed woman, a dude in a suit with sunglasses, and another guy who's an older gentleman with a clipboard filled with paper. So they walk up and they greet me, and they're very nice. Even the guy in the sunglasses, he takes his glasses off, puts them in his pocket, and introduces himself, and I give my whole presentation. And normally in science fair, there's some banter, there's some back and forth, like they ask you to elaborate on stuff. Maybe it was my presentation was so good, I don't know, but I just went through the whole thing and did my whole spiel, played the video, showed him the stuff, told my whole thing. And at the end, the woman was like, oh, that was great. And she asked me some of those lowball, she was definitely one of the regular science fair judges kind of questions. Then the other guy who was with the clipboard asked me technical questions so beyond the scope of my project. He asked me about blue boxing and 2600 operator stuff. He asked me about silver boxing and all kinds of other things like that. He knew phone freak terms that I didn't use in my presentation and stuff like that. Like, he obviously was a man in the know. The other guy asked me no questions. He just stood there and said, it was a good presentation. And at the end, they thanked me. They said to wait, and Miss Straka would come get me. Miss Straka did not come get me. My principal, Mr. Voss, came and got me. Mr. V was a ex-military drill sergeant type dude who would poke you in the exact same spot, not hard, but just over and over, and you get like a huge, like painful bruise, like swollen shoulder over it. That didn't happen today. No, I saw his eyes with the fiery flames of hell burning in anger at me, but he was a calm silent as he like eagle claw taloned my shoulder and pulled me out of the gym to meet that agent-looking dude with the sunglasses and another one, and the dude who looked like he was from the telco. who in fact was. They escorted me into Mr. Voss's office and continued to grill me for I don't know how long. They read me the riot act. They told me they were going to charge me with telecommunications fraud. They wanted me to narc on people I didn't have, you know what I mean? And I finally kept my mouth shut for a change. Didn't really say much. And after all the grilling was done, Mr. Voss escorted them out, and he like sort of leaned in and said, "You're so suspended, by the way," and then, closes the door. I'm sitting in there. My parents show up, and I walk out the door, and only one of the agent-looking dudes is left with Mr. Voss and my parents. They basically tell me that they can't charge me with telecommunications fraud because I'm a minor and it won't matter or whatever, but we're watching you. And yeah, so that's probably how I got on my first or second watch list. Was phone phreaking in high school in science fair. So the moral of this story is keep your mouth shut. If you're gonna do illegal things, you shouldn't talk about it. Here I am on the internet doing exactly not what I'm telling you. Do as I say, not as I do in this case, but it's the moral of today's story. So yeah, phone phreaking stories from back in the day. If you like this video, like it, subscribe to my channel, comment down below what you want me to talk about next. Later.